Welcome to Smell of Page. The Treasure Box, written by Sarojini Sinha. Chapter 8. Govind was quite well now, but had no intention of leaving Delhi. Whenever Bola reminded him that they should go to Bulandshahr, he always said, "Yes, Bola, wait a little longer. We will go after some more time." The rains had started and the Yamuna was in flood. The weather became hot and muggy, and still the British held on to the ridge. They had destroyed the bridges on the Najafgarh Canal, and now the Sepoys could not carry out hit and run raids on the cantonment except by making a long detour. The Sepoys were still in high spirits, but lacked leadership. They made several assaults on the ridge, but were thrown back. Then the British took the Sabzi Mandi area, and Abdul Aziz Khan and a few other cavalry officers decided to do something about it. One evening, he and his fellow officers with 100 men rode out of Kashmiri Gate. The next afternoon, they returned to Delhi. Much reduced in number, Govind ran to Abdul and asked, "What happened? Where are the others?" "Dead. Killed while attacking the Farangists on the ridge. You went with 100 men to attack 3,000 soldiers. That wasn't wise," Govind said accusingly, thinking of the fine-looking young troopers who had left Delhi a day earlier. Abdul looked sad as he said, "We thought we had the advantage of a surprise attack. We knew the heat and the rain bothered the Angries, and many were ill with cholera. We were sure they wouldn't be fit enough to fight." "Then what went wrong?" Govind asked. "At first, everything went exactly as we thought it would. We went to the Farangist tents without alerting them. It was only then the alarm sounded, and then officers who were resting rushed out without boots or socks. You know how particular they are about their boots, socks, caps and belts." Govind nodded and Abdul went on. "Their gunners were so panic-stricken they fled without firing a single shot. And then they recovered from the initial surprise. Their cavalry galloped to the front, and the infantry rushed to defend the threatened points. The fortune of war turned. You see, we returned, leaving many of our dead behind." Govind thought that Abdul and the others had been foolhardy, and their attack on the British camp was not well planned. Yes, that was the difficulty. The men were brave, and they lacked leadership. As if echoing his thought, Abdul said, "Our men are courageous, and our artillery better than theirs. We have a huge store of ammunition, and yet we hadn't been able to defeat the Farangists because we have no leader and no plan." About this time, Bukht Khan, an able artillery officer from Bareilly, crossed the swollen Yamuna and entered Delhi at the head of 5,000 men. The emperor's treasury was empty, but Bukht Khan brought with him 7 lakh rupees worth of treasure. He sought audience with the emperor and offered himself as commander-in-chief of the Mughal forces. The emperor accepted his offer. Bukht Khan made energetic efforts to tighten discipline. He sent for the city Kotwal and told him that if he did not stop the looting, he would be hanged for failure to perform his duties. Bukht Khan also ordered that guns should be issued to shopkeepers for self-protection. He warned looters that they would have their arms chopped off. He issued instruction to the Sepoys under his command that no man would get his daily wages unless he actually fought the foreigners. Those who went out to fighting in the morning should not return to the city before 4 in the evening. Several times Govind saw Bookgan busy supervising the city's defenses. He was a sturdy man with a barrel chest, a large stomach, and a fat thighs. He had served in the army for 40 years, and in spite of his bulk, was extremely active. People expected much from him, but their hopes came to naught. Prince Mirza Mughal, who had been commander-in-chief earlier, quarreled with Bookgan. There was so much ill will between the two that the emperor divided the army, each man commanding a part of it. The troop leaders also quarreled themselves, and the cavalry was split into numerous groups, each group doing what its leader thought best. To most people, this hardly seemed the way to win the war. One morning, as usual, Abdul and Govind went to visit Mirza Sahib. They found him in a bed chamber. He spat pan juice into the spit-on beside him and exclaimed, "Lahol! These fools will believe anything. They have no judgment and do not know who is a traitor and who a patriot." He flung before them a tiny piece of tightly rolled paper. "Read that," he ordered. Abdul unrolled the paper and read, "Greetings to Mirza Yunus Khan from Rajab Ali. Thank you for the information you sent. I'm authorized to give a reward of 100 guineas to anyone who blows up the powder magazine in the city." Abdul and Govind stared at the nobleman in surprise. Surely he was not a traitor, and yet why had he received that note from Rajab Ali, who, though a man of noble birth, was a well-known spy? Mirza Sahib smiled wryly. "So you too have started doubting me, haven't you?" They blushed, and Abdul hastened to say, "It isn't that, Mirza Sahib. I only wondered why Rajab Ali should write to you." Mirza spat into the spittoon again. "It's a plot on the part of Firangis to create suspicion against the loyal supporters of the emperor. They have instructed Rajab Ali to address such notes and make sure they fall into the wrong hands." "What do you mean by wrong hands, Mirza Sahib?" asked Abdul. "Instead of being received by those they are addressed to, the letter fall into somebody else's hands. Then they are made public, creating doubts about the loyalist." "But your friends know you are a patriot, Mirza Sahib," Abdul said earnestly. "And yet for a moment even you suspected me of being a traitor." "I'm sorry, Mirza Sahib, but you mustn't take this lying down. You must tell everybody that you are innocent," Abdul urged. Mirza turned this over in his mind. He had his own doubt. Who will believe me? Only a short time ago, Rajab Ali sent a note to the emperor's physician, Ahsanullah Khan. It fell into the hands of some sepoys. They were so angry with what they took to be Ahsanullah treasury that they wrecked his house. They did not even pause to ask themselves whether he really was a traitor. "That was most foolish of them," said Abdul. "Now people will think I'm a traitor. It wouldn't occur to them that I have spent a fortune serving the emperor and would gladly lay down my life for him. Your friends will never believe you are anything but a patriot," Abdul assured him, raising his voice. "My friends have left me. Haven't you noticed that I have hardly any visitors today?" They had noticed, but did not say anything. Mirza smiled contemptuously. "I must do something to prove my loyalty and devotion to the cause. Otherwise, I shall be an outcast." "What will you do?" "The best way is to do something worthwhile. I shall go to the ridge to spy out what is happening in the Firangi camp. I already have a man on the reach who sends me regular reports. I was to send a man named Karimuddin to contact him, but he has died of cholera. I think I'll go in his place." The two friends were aghast. They started at the plump and elderly Mirza. He looked so distinguished that everyone in the British camp was bound to notice him. He would be no good as a spy. "You are too well known, Mirza Sahib," protested Abdul. "The Firangis will immediately recognize you. You shouldn't run such a terrible risk." "I have nothing to live for, with my reputation gone and my friends against me," Mirza said sadly. A servant entered with a hookah. "Get out!" he shouted. "Get out of here! What do you mean by disturbing me?" The bewildered servant left hurriedly, and Abdul said, "Let me go to Firangi camp." "Mirza Sahib, no one knows me, and I'll contact your man and get the information you need." "What good will that do to me?" "Everyone knows I'm your follower, and any little services I may be able to render will enhance your reputation," Abdul explained. "Mirza would not hear of it. If harm should come to you, how'll I face your father, who is my best friend?" But Abdul insisted, saying he would be very careful. Finally, with much reluctance, Mirza gave in. He asked Abdul to come closer to him and whispered, "My spy in the Firangi camp is one Anand Ram. He is a patriot and loyal. He works as a bearer in the mess tent of the Lancers. If the news he sends from the Firangi camp is of military significance, I pass it on the commander-in-chief. I shall go to the British camp and get the information," Abdul promised. "A few days ago, I was at the Reach with a raiding party. I know the lay of the land." "Listen, Abdul," said Mirza. "Since you are determined to go to the Reach, you must dress like an ordinary villager and say that you are an Anand Ram's nephew from the village of Shahpur in Hapur district and that you want to meet him." "Very well, sir. I shall leave early in the morning. Since the Firangis have destroyed the bridges over the Najafkar Canal, I'll have to take a longer route to reach the camp. I had better leave before daybreak." As soon as they were out of Mirza's house, Govind said, "I'm coming with you, Abdul." "You? What will you do there?" "I'll help you." "Nonsense. You are too young to help, and I can't allow you to risk your life." "There is no risk. That's what you told Mirza Sahib. Besides, my father is a patriot and would like me to do something for the cause." "Your father wants to leave Delhi and go to Bulandshahr because you are too young to risk your life," Abdul reprimanded him. "I'm only 5 or 6 years younger than you," Govind pointed out stubbornly. "That's quite a difference," Abdul retorted. But Govind was so adamant he had to agree. "All right, you can come with me, but you are not entering to the Firangi camp. You'll have to stay in the village below the ridge and mind the horses." Dressed as poor villagers, they stole out of Kashmiri Gate while it was still dark. After doing a tiresome roundabout, they came up behind the British lines, having tethered their houses to a peepul tree in the jungle. Abdul warned, "Now stay here and don't you dare follow me to the camp." "When will you return, Abdul?" "I shall be back by the afternoon." "Take care," urged Govind as Abdul waved to him and went quickly up the hill. The boy stood staring after his friend. When he was out of his sight, he turned to the horses and began giving them a rub down. Then he fed and watered them. Both were handsome animals. Only now it occurred to Govind how foolish they had been to ride such magnificent beasts, when they wanted to give the impression of being poor villagers. They should have used ordinary ponies. He decided that if anyone were to see him with the horses and ask him about them, he would say they belonged to his master, and he was only the size. Govind ate a little of the food Bola had packed for him. What a thoughtful and loyal fellow he is, Govind mused. So concerned about my comfort, what would I do without him? Govind rubbed his eyes in disbelief. Was he dreaming, or was Bola really coming towards him, riding a small pony? He went up to meet him. What are you doing here, Bola? He asked angrily. I couldn't sit at home knowing you might be in danger. Bola replied, I'm not in danger. Your friend has gone to Angry's camp, and it could be dangerous for him, and you too. Bola said calmly, and now let's not argue. I shall wait here with you. Govind was furious, but there was nothing he could do. They waited the whole day. It rained intermittently. At times, they got soaked into the skin, but when the sun came out, they were dry again. Towards sunset, Govind was uneasy. He was thankful that Bola was with him. When he could wait no more, he said, I think we should go and look for Abdul.